What's going on, guys? I'm John Malecki here with another build for you. In this video I'm going to be building a custom sign for a local Woodcraft in the area in Pittsburgh. If you're in Pittsburgh, go check it out. It is located in Canonsburg. The sign is going to be made from corrugated steel, reclaimed barnwood, and some raw metal. As you can see here, cutting down the corrugated metal, and I'm using the plywood backer board as my straight edge. And here I'm just cutting down some metal. I'm going to weld a flat stock frame and then drop the plywood backer into it. I'll fasten the plywood to the metal frame, and then I will insert the hangers and everything from there. Right here I'm using spacers to just tack everything up. Make sure it's staying as close to the spacing as I need it. None of this is going to be seen, and it doesn't really matter because it's not a piece of furniture, so it's just hanging there. But I want to get it as close to the measurements as possible, throw some tacks on it, and then some finish welds. Once I get everything welded up, I grind down all of the welds on the corners that are on the outside, and then pre-drill some holes. Here I'm using a stepper bit. I finally have got a bit that I don't shatter and break all the time. I was using just standard metal bits, but this seems to work way faster for my purposes. So check out a stepper bit if you're just pre-drilling holes and stuff here and there. You tend to snap it less, which is something that I tend to do a lot. So I'm just adding some reinforcements in this scene, tacking up some end pieces to add some rigidity to it, and I just leave these as tacks. I didn't feel the need to put full welds on them because there won't be any weight bearing on them. All the weight's on the outside of the frame from where I'm going to mount the hooks. Here's some finish welds on the inside braces, and then back onto the wood. So you can see I'm using the brush sander again. If you checked out my last video, it debuted and got awesome feedback. Great tool, highly suggested for anybody that is using reclaimed wood or old dirty wood or wood that's just covered in shit. It's awesome to quickly remove that and also knock down all of the soft grain and get the wood down to a feel where you can rub your hand on it and not get splinters. So great tool. I'll leave a link in the description to check it out. It's a little bit expensive, but totally worth it if you're working with old wood all the time. Here you can see I'm laying out the letters for the sign itself. I got these printed in decals. It's pretty much my standard procedure for when I'm doing sign work, and I'm fortunate to have a local company that does this for me. You can also print these out on computer paper and tape them on yourself, and you can also print them in the reverse and use acetone, and there's a bunch of other tricks out there that people use. This works great for me and happens to be super convenient, so it's how I've done every sign I've made ever, I'm pretty sure. After I get everything laid out, I move on to the bandsaw and start cutting out the letters. Now I know some of you guys are going to give me flack because I'm using a resaw blade here to do this, but I somehow crimped or bent my fine cut blade and ended up having to go with this. It's all I had on site. That was sharp enough to do anything that would not be killing me for time. So I think this is a 3/4 inch 4 TPI blade. Not the best use for it, but got the job done. I did struggle here with the O and the round pieces a little bit, so I just go ahead on the outsides of these and get as close as I possibly can to the line, and then actually to cut the centers out, I cut right down the bottom and cut up the middle and make a bunch of relief cuts going around the inside, and you can see that here. I got a lot of the bandsaw techniques I use off of Jimmy Diresta's channel. If you're looking to become like a master bandsaw guy, definitely check him out. He is an absolute animal, and the dude has some great tips and tricks on his channel for becoming better on the bandsaw. I'm garbage at it, but I'm getting better and working on it. So when you're working with reclaimed wood, sometimes it splits. I'm using CA glue to glue it back together, and then I also made an intentional cut down the middle, which I glued back together with CA glue as well. That's another great opportunity if you use DAP's Rapid Fuse, which I'm a big fan of if you watch my videos. That works quickly and gets the job done for stuff like this too. So after I get the letters cut out, this is how I get them flat. I will take the letter and flip it over and then staple it or nail it to a flat board for reference and then run it through my belt sander. It comes out and you can see here on the table, no more wobble. So I run the letters through the belt sander like that to get them flat and then touch them up briefly with my orbital Rotex. All I'm trying to do here is essentially get the glue marks off of it. I didn't finish these with any sealant. I wanted the piece to kind of age as it stayed up there on the ceiling. The saw blade that I used down in a couple minutes you'll see is super rusty, so I wanted to keep like an old, disheveled, kind of just something that has been there for a while vibe and look to it. So here I'm being an idiot and forgot I had that stepper bit that I was talking so highly of before to drill the hole for the eyelet. So I go ahead and tack that in. Could have used a standard thread with a bolt, but this is what I had, so this is what I used. I just used some more welds here to keep it in place, cut off the back and hit it with another weld on the inside. The sign will hang from chains from the ceiling, so this will work well. Here I am finding the center of the piece so I can reference the saw blade and get some layout marks for the lettering as well. The saw blade's awesome. It was given by Woodcraft for this because they dug the saw blade etching video I did and on my channel with my logo. So here I am marking where I want the letters to be laid out on. Used the tape measure and got them pretty close. It didn't have to be exactly precise. And I'm marking them and pre-drilling with the stepper bit, which is awesome, and not the regular drill bit, but I'm pre-drilling some holes. I'll come back and screw all of the letters in from underneath the corrugated metal and then fasten the corrugated metal to the plywood backer board I cut earlier. I'm using, I think, like 3/4 inch button head screws here, I believe. And it zips together pretty nicely, and they actually hold pretty strong. I was holding the sign by just the letters and they weren't moving at all, so I was pumped about that. Very simple way to get this thing thrown together. So in order to mount the saw blade to the sign, I needed some way to adhere it without putting screws through it to what was going to be holding the whole thing together. So what I did was I welded this bracket onto the back and then used the center of the bracket to cut a hole and then run a carriage bolt all the way from the front through the saw blade, through the corrugated metal, through the plywood, and also through the metal support stretcher in the center of the sign. I then bolted it in the back and fastened that with some weld. So you can see here I'm punching the carriage bolt through, and I think it kind of gives it a good look since I used the shiny button head bolt, and it held nice and tight too. So I'm referencing that with an ice pick. If you don't know what an ice pick is, check out Jimmy Diresta's channel. He makes them. They're awesome, nicely versatile tool you can use for a ton of stuff that really just helps speed up your process, and it's pretty cool and they're fun to make. So here I'm drilling pilot holes through the wood, and then I'll go the whole way through the wood and through the metal. Instead of finding a center alignment and then using the mark, I referenced everything off of a hole that I originally cut, which made everything line up nice. There you can see I'm fastening the back to the sign, and here I'm fastening the front to the sign. Same thing as before. I think those are I don't know, sheet metal screws maybe, or button head screws, but I'm just spacing everything out and fastening it to the plywood backer. Here I'm adding the carriage bolt. Went through very simply and easily, worked out exactly like I wanted it to, which is always nice and rarely happens. There I got a couple lock washers and a bolt. I'll cut the back off of that with the grinder here, and after that I threw some welds on there and I painted the back of the sign black. Here's a little pan of the sign as it's finished, and now on to installation. So it's nice and early in the morning. I'm down at the Woodcraft store in Canonsburg, and it was raining outside a little bit, so I wiped the sign down, and then me and the store manager David are carrying the sign back to the scissor lift, which was so helpful and convenient and actually kind of fun to use. So here we're just throwing the sign up onto the scissor lift, and then we'll attach it with some chains to some brackets that he had pre-hung there, and that's a wrap. The sign ended up looking awesome, and I really hope you guys enjoy it. So this was an awesome build. I was super pumped to be able to work with Woodcraft and do something for their new store in Canonsburg, PA. The sign went together very easily. I was able to use a bunch of tools and different techniques. I want to send a thank you out there to everyone that was involved, especially Woodcraft. I'm going to be down in the store on November 19th for all you guys that are around the Pittsburgh area. It's in Canonsburg once again, so make sure if you're in the area you come down and check me out. Until then, I'll see you guys next time.